Today we're going to be talking about the 3 ways that wide receivers can run a dig route. Now there are 3 different variations of a dig route that we're going to be going over today. The first one is going to be something called a basic. So I don't mean basic in terms of like skill level. They actually call this a basic dig, and a basic dig is where you are dropping your hips and our goal is to get flat, straight down a line of wherever the depth of the route is. Now, reason why I go over these 3 variations, because some of you might be thinking, well, I don't run digs like this in my playbook. You may eventually get to an offense that asks you to run a dig like this, so you have to train it every single way that we're going to discuss in this video. You should be confident in every element of this dig route. So a basic, like I said, let's say this white line is maybe 10 yards, and let's say I'm running a 10-yard basic. That's when I drop my hips and I have to stay flat, straight down this 10-yard line. Usually, they will have play concepts like this when we maybe have a route breaking deeper over the top. So let's say I'm a slot wide receiver, let's say I'm running a 10-yard basic, and let's say my outside receiver is running a 12-yard deep skinny post. We're trying to make the safety pick one. So when I drop my hips on this basic and get flat, I'm trying to get him to crash down. I don't want to speed cut my dig, which we're going to talk about later, and drift up into this safety to where maybe he could play both routes. So usually this basic, the way I teach it is usually breaking off the inside foot. It can vary on the depth of the route. We're going to show it full speed in a second as well, so you guys get a better idea of it. But let's say my quarterback's to the left, my left foot is up, I'm breaking on my 3rd inside step. So that should take you to about 8 to 10 yards. So set, go, we come off. I don't count this step. This is my 1st inside, 2nd inside, 3rd inside, I am dropping, and you could either drop, plant off my right foot and get out in 2, or some guys, maybe a little bit more beginner guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, drop out, but make sure that we are staying sharp, straight down that 10-yard line and not drifting upfield. I'm gonna show you how this should look full speed. Now fellas, if you're a wide receiver, we are traveling out to 9 more states across the country this year for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. However, we only have 4 camps left with available spots where you can sign up. Every single camp is completely sold out, except for our camps in Buffalo, New York, Detroit, Michigan, Los Angeles, California, and Atlanta, Georgia. So guys, if you're local to one of those 4 cities and you've been thinking about signing up for one of our camps, make sure you take advantage. All camp spots will be gone by April 1st. So guys, very first link in that description below. We'd love to have you out to one of our off-season camps. Let's get back to this full speed example. So this next version of a dig route is going to be a post dig, which is commonly used on like a dagger concept. So you could call this a dagger dig route. So what a dagger concept is, like, let's say I'm the outside wide receiver. This break is usually, I would say, at 12 yards. You break to the post and then you flatten off at 15. So this is a 15-yard dig. And we're going to talk about the amount of steps that you're going to take on this dig as well. But you'll have your slot receiver running a seam route. So he's going to be running a deep seam, and we like this concept against a too high safety look. They're trying to get a read on that safety from the quarterback perspective. So I'm up, I'm running my post dig, that safety runs at the seam, then I slip back underneath the seam and I catch that pass right there. Now the reason why we go at 15 is we were waiting for that dig, or not so much waiting, but that's just how the concept times up. We were trying to let that seam route take the safety out of the play, and we just slip back underneath. We also want to get to 15, so I'm deep enough to where the outside linebacker or the middle linebacker isn't a factor on this. So you're going to be breaking off of your 4th outside step to the post. So set, go, we come off. That's 1, not counting this step. 2, 3, break 4, 2 steps to the post, flatten this thing off, and then we're out. Notice how we were trying to stay flat, but I am not dropping my hips, and that is why we were doing those 2 ultimate, like I guess you could say, stick type of cuts. So we're going to show you how this thing's going to look full speed. Now this next variation of a dig route is going to be a speed cut dig. Now this is how a lot of offenses are running their digs nowadays, because everybody's playing in that spread or air raid system where speed is super important. It's not even so much about making sharper cuts in a lot of these offenses. It's just about getting to a spot where the quarterback needs you as fast as possible and having no wasted time. So that's where the speed cut comes into play. So this would be just like, I'm sure all of you are familiar with the speed cut, but I'll go over it. Usually we use a speed cut on like a 10-yard speed out, I guess you could say. So a 10-yard speed out would be broken off of your 3rd inside step. You come off the ball, 1st inside, 2nd inside. On your 3rd inside, you start to slightly turn your inside foot. This is the speed cut. It's not a hard cut, you guys. We are not losing any speed. You are turning it at a 45-degree angle. We are pushing off of this. You are almost pretending like you have somebody you don't like behind you, and you are trying to elbow them to flip your hips so we don't lose any speed and we can round. So usually this speed cut dig is 10 to 12 yards, and we're breaking off of my 4th outside step. So you would come off, set, go, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are rounding this thing up and then drifting back underneath. That would be if you're running a 12-yard speed cut dig. If it's a 10-yard speed cut dig, usually it would be off of your 3rd outside step. But we are pivoting my outside foot, driving off of it, ripping my arms, opening up my hips to get out of this thing with no loss of speed. There's okay if we round, we just cannot drift upfield. I'm gonna show you how this should look full speed.